Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Define community. I hope everyone is having a fabulous morning. Today, we are going over how to set up your monthly reflection. So make sure to grab your Define planner, grab your journal, and get started with us. I'm going to give us a few moments here to get everyone settled, get everyone ready, and then we'll dive in. I'm so excited to have you all here today. This week went by so fast. Who doesn't love a short week? There's nothing quite like it, honestly. Hey, Amber. I'm excited to answer. How are you today? Hey, Tessa. I hope everyone's ready to put May behind them, but learn from it, move forward so we can make June the most productive and honestly exciting one yet. It's such a good week to kick off. Like, I'm excited that, was this Memorial Day? Yeah, this was Memorial Day week already. So now it's like officially that time where we can begin to feel like it's summer. Okay. I have a new approach that I wanted to try when we are answering these questions today. I will be using the Define planner, which let me just go ahead and pin that for a moment so you guys know what I'm using. And at the end of every month, there is a monthly reflection. So you can take that time to reset and reflect through 8 prompts. Now, we've started to, on a monthly basis, come together on live and go over how we answer these questions. And I wanted to try something new today. And so I have gathered different, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It's like we're still using these prompts, but when you're answering them, I have different things for you to consider. So let's just dive in. Hey, Destiny. So in May, I was taking a look back and we did continue to focus on our health and wellness pathway and to be even more specific by building a routine through consistent movement and incorporating strength building. Now, our purpose for this was to focus on the routine aspect rather than the fitness goal of it all. And that is what this is all about. Hey, Nicole. So today, I want to mix things up. So let's go over different perspectives on how you can answer the monthly reflection questions. So the way I'm going to do this is I am going to prompt you with, of course, the actual prompt itself, but then a sentence to get you thinking about how you could answer this. So I'm going to be using the purple zebra mild liner, more specifically lilac, and the black Sharpie. These two, it'll make more sense as we get further into this or as I do one, but these two are going to be the prompts to help you get started to write your own answers. And then the purple Pilot G2 pen is going to be an example of how you might answer these. Okay, let's dive in. So the first question that we have is, in general, how did you feel? Now, this can be a little tricky for some people. I know it's tough to think about, okay, well, I guess I was tired. Like, how did you really feel? So let's do this a little differently. Let's have some fun here. So when answering this question, I want you to try using a metaphor. This is going to help you spark those honest feelings and have you thinking about your month differently. So ask yourself, if this month were a weather report, what kind of weather would it be and why? Okay? It's a little abstract, but it's a fun way to get you thinking differently. And instead of putting necessarily sad right away to your feelings, maybe it's easier to put partly cloudy, sunshine. Maybe it was rainy. So let me write that prompt in the black Sharpie pen for you so you can maybe do that on your own. And whenever you guys have questions, if there's anything you would like to discuss or share with me, please let me know in the comments. That's what this is all about. It's just a great way to take that time to reflect and learn moving forward. So if this month, I loved this metaphor. I thought it was such a fun way to mix it up a little bit. Hey, Colleen. If this month were a weather report, what kind of weather would it be? Let me know in the comments, you guys. What was your weather? What was the weather of your month? And then I'll show you an example answer. I might need a little bit. I need another line, I think. And you don't have to do this every single month. Some months you might, once you get the hang of it, it might become more natural to you to do a little journaling. But if this is something that's new to you, then this is a great way to mix it up. So what kind of weather would it be? And why? Okay. So let's look back at May. This is a great time to look back at your mood tracker and see how are you feeling. Also, just your weeks in general. And so an example of this would be, well, this month, I would say partly sunny. And partly cloudy. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, why? Well, some days I did feel for the sunny portion. Some days were great. How did I feel on those great days and what made me feel that way? And why do I feel great? Well, I felt strong. I also felt in rhythm. And in rhythm with my movement routine, but also just life in general. I also felt in those moments I was more connected, or on those days. I just felt connected to everything, to myself, to the world, all of the above. But then I also did write partly cloudy. And why? Because there were days when I felt tired. The rainy weather really got to me on some days. I was letting the outside weather get to me. And that's okay. So you see how just mixing it up, asking yourself, how did you feel in terms of a different way, just triggers and helps you spark a different way of thinking. Okay. Now, the next question is a little more straightforward, but we're still going to do it. I like having this system of the highlighter and Sharpie pen just to break it down. So the next question is, what were your favorite moments and why? I am going to be doing a top 3 moments list. Okay. What was everyone's top moment this month? You can list as many as you want. You can list 3, you can list 1, but let me know in the comments. There were a lot this month, I'm not going to lie. I feel like May was such an interesting month. It went by so fast, and there was a lot that happened. The first Oh, wrong color. The first is going to be so the ruler is helpful to get it straight. And then the reason I do the highlighter first is because sometimes highlighter, when you go over a Sharpie or any type of pen, it smudges. So it's actually it's done a lot when it comes to planning and doodling or things like that. So my top 3 moments would have to be Mother's Day was one, because I did a lot of yard work outside. I helped out, and that was so fun to just be together. Doing yard work and just being together was such a joy. And when you're answering what your top 3 moments were, I don't want you to necessarily focus too much on the big things. I want you to remember that it's those little moments that add up as well. So whether it's a holiday or a celebration like Mother's Day or a birthday, or it was joining our One More Chapter book club, that was going to be my second one. Or maybe one day you just had a moment with a friend that really made you laugh and you're like, I hadn't laughed like that in such a long time. Those moments are what matter. Okay, that's what matters. And the reason you want to acknowledge your favorite moments is because this is how you can know what really brings you joy, and you can continue doing those things as much as possible. And knowing what brings you joy helps you feel fulfilled throughout the year, throughout life. The second thing was One More Chapter book club this month. We read the Let Them Theory. And there was just something about this month's discussion. It felt so intimate and inspiring. In like such a lovely way. It was a great time to connect and learn from one another. And it was great conversation. And the third was the Sunday of Memorial Day. It was low-key barbecue, so fun. A low-key family barbecue, and it was everything. And it's interesting, like when you take a step back and look at those top 3 moments, what do 2 of them have in common? Family and outside. So that's something that if I'm ever feeling off, to come back to and be like, okay, if I get outside, if I see my family, maybe we go on a walk, whatever it could be, that is how we're going to bring that joy back into things. Okay. The next question is, what did you learn? I wanted to try something new with you guys today, so let's do a fill in the blank with this. So first fill in the blank for this is going to be, I used to think blank, but now I know blank. Okay? I'll write this out. And I used to think, I'm just going to draw a line, blank. Now I know blank. And what I loved about this fill in the blank here is that it allows you to answer this in so many ways, whether it's a specific topic. Like you used to think this was how I was supposed to be using TikTok or Canva, but now I know this is how I should be using it. Or you used to think one thing about yourself, but now you know that that's not the case, because XYZ. And I loved having that fill in the blank because the what did you learn can be interpreted in so many ways, and this gives you that space to do that. So I wanted to give an example that connected to our goals, because as much as you can connect your answers back to your goals and your umbrella goal progress, that is going to help you a lot moving forward. And it also gives you a way to direct your journaling session. So I used to think blank, but now I know blank. An example in connection to our focus on routine this month would be, I used to think I had, let me write this out as we go. So maybe you used to think that when it came to a routine, it was something that you had to do every single day, right? It had to be, what's the word? I'm thinking of like a word, like cemented is the only word I can think of, but what's the word I'm looking for? I used to think that a routine had to be, I think I might, permanent, extreme might be the word. I'm just going to write extreme. Had to be extreme, especially to see progress. But now I know, see how we're filling in the blank? But now I know consistency, even when it's imperfect, still builds strength and confidence. And what I mean by that is, maybe you want this routine and in an ideal world, yeah, you do it every single day. But maybe there's a day where you don't do it. That is okay, because you are allowed to have a day that doesn't go exactly how you planned. And that doesn't take away from all the progress you've made so far. It's really easy to think in terms of, if I want to do X every day, if I don't do X every single day, then I have kind of given up, that my progress from there to there doesn't count. So that is actually a really important thing to know when it comes to goal setting, because it also helps you learn how to set your goal, if that makes sense. Because it's easy to set your goals as, I want to eat, and food is just the first thing that came to mind because I know that that's like a big thing for people with goals, is I want to eat 3 meals a day, every day. Okay, which is great if that's what you want. But at the same time, maybe we could allow that to have some flexibility. So that way, if one day you don't do that, you don't look at everything you've done so far as a failure. Maybe it's, I want to eat balanced meals and live a healthy lifestyle. And that way, if you have a day that things don't go the way you planned, it doesn't take away from all the progress you've made so far. And I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little tough to understand, but once you have that mindset shift, it really does help. Oh, to recap, how would you describe the previous month using the weather analogy? Great question. So I decided to mix up question number 1. So I want you, when you are answering, if this month were a weather report, what kind of weather would it be and why? I want you to answer it using like rainy, partly cloudy, partly sunny. So for our example, it was partly sunny and partly cloudy. And then you have to ask yourself why. So some days you felt great and you felt strong and in rhythm with your movement routine. On those days, you felt connected. But then there still were some other days where you felt tired, where you were letting the outside weather get to you. And so by adding an analogy, it's a really fun way to mix up your journaling and identify how you were feeling a little differently. And then my top 3 moments I listed as for what were your favorite moments, why. I listed Mother's Day, One More Chapter Book Club, and the Sunday of Memorial Day. And right now we are on question number 3, and we are doing a fill in the blank. I used to think blank, but now I know blank. And I wanted to wrap this question up by also answering it with that it's important to listen to your mind and body. And it's also important to keep priorities in mind. Okay. Next, we have question number 4. So, what were the most challenging aspects of your month? How did you deal with them? So at the end of question 3, we used a little fill in the blank of I used to think blank, but now I know blank. And it's really helpful to identify what you learned using what it was before and what your takeaway is after, and adding in as much as you want to this journaling. So the summary at the end of question 3 is there because it allows you to take that fill in the blank and add on. Does that help answer your question? So, because these are all reflection prompts, and so the important part to remember is that you want to write as much as you want to write, if that makes sense. And so, adding in a little, I had said, I used to think that a routine had to be extreme, especially to see progress. And then again, coming back to that fill in the blank, but now I know consistency, even when it's imperfect, still builds strength and confidence. And then I just added on. So it's not really a summary. I just added on. So it's important to listen to your mind and body and to keep priorities in mind. So it was just an additional 2 sentences to elaborate even more. And the way that I'm doing it today, the highlighted portion, these are just a different way to go about answering these reflection prompts. If you're having trouble sparking that reflection, I thought it would be cool to go over and mix it up with different formats as to how to think about these questions. And again, I'm here to clarify anything as we're doing this. So I appreciate the questions. When it comes to question 4, what were the most challenging aspects of your month? How did you deal with them? Let's look at this as a little story time of a format. It is helpful when you are, again, coming back to connecting your goals to these prompts to the answers to these prompts. So I want you to think about if you are telling a story to someone. So I want you to start this off. Let me tell you about one week that really tested me. Let me tell you, or if it was a day, just a certain time frame. So let me tell you about a time that tested me. And sometimes when you are answering questions, it can be hard to think about how you want to write the answer. And that's why I loved this idea of turning it into a story, because I don't want you to judge yourself when you're doing this. I want you to just tell a story in your own words, in your own reflection of, this was a time that challenged me, but this is also how I overcame it. Let me give you another example. Okay, because examples make it so much clearer. So let me tell you about one week that really tested me. In private packs, if there's any other questions as we're going through this, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here to clarify. That's what this is all about. So the second week of May, we're going to flip it back to the second week of May. There was so much work. I was slammed with work. And wasn't prioritizing my routine. And so how did I deal with them? Well, instead of spiraling about missing my movement or my at-home exercises, I gave myself grace. And this was really when I started to learn about progress and consistency. I recognized that this didn't take away from the progress I was making. I committed to walking and the workouts over the weekend. And that helped me get back into it. And so recognizing where maybe part of your goal planning wasn't your strongest, and then seeing, okay, this is how I handled it. This allows you the next time that this might happen to you to remember what you did the last time. Recognizing that giving yourself grace and moving forward is all you can do. Okay? Now, the last 4 questions really focus on your goal progress. Now, I know we did tailor a lot of those questions in our answers to connect back to those goals because that's extremely helpful. Now, these 4 questions are really focusing on your application of them. And so starting off with reflect on this month's pathway focus. Why did you choose these pathways? This was another one that we're going to do a little fill in the blank because I thought that this was a great way to connect with the beginning of the month again, even though I know it can be difficult to put yourself back at that time. But this is a great way to do that. So what you're going to do is say when May started, or what, you can use this any month, so insert whatever month you're on. When May started, I was feeling blank. And then I'm actually just going to make it on another line. I probably could have fit it on one, but I didn't. Now I feel blank. So to answer this question, put yourself back in your shoes. When May 1st started, how were you feeling? Well, I remember coming on TikTok Live, talking about our last monthly reflection, and really ready to take the next step beyond just daily walks. Not just, but beyond that daily movement. So to level up that daily routine. I'm going to write, I felt ready to level up my movement routine. Now, I feel proud for starting my strength journey. My strength journey. Even if some weeks were spotty, because trust me, they were. I'm farther than I was a month ago. And it's important to recognize why you chose that goal in the beginning and how you're feeling now about it. And so you started with that portion, and now you have to take it that one step further and see, okay, so that is why I chose it on a monthly basis. Now, I want to reflect on those monthly and weekly action items and ask yourself, did you incorporate them into your daily schedule? So you go from that monthly to that incorporation of them on a daily basis. For this, we're going to use a progress bar. So for this, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well did I follow through? So I should have done that on two. I should have started that to the left. But how well did I follow through? One being I didn't incorporate them at all. So to return back. 10 being I incorporated them every single day, every single week. And so consistently we did our consistent movement of daily walk in one activity. So start by seeing how you completed them on a weekly basis in terms of one at a time. So what I mean is we set 2 monthly action items here. Let's break it down into one at a time. So starting off with, did we do a daily walk in one activity? I actually did, which I was really impressed with myself with. And so we're going to start by, I wanted to rank these in 2 different ways. So that's just the way I can do that easier. Sorry, that's just how I view this. So I'm going to rank it in terms of the 2 different monthly action items. And so 1, starting with that consistent movement, which I probably shouldn't have put a number because I do know that this answer has to be on a scale, but we'll make it work. Consistent movement. I like rewriting the action items in here because I think it's nice on a monthly basis to be able to quickly look back and reference our takeaways in one solid spot. So daily walk and 1 activity. I would honestly give myself on this an 8 out of 10. Because I remember that there was, I looked back and there was a week or 2 when it was just like a lot of rain. And so I didn't get outside as much as I wanted to. But overall, I was incorporating this so much. Now we're going to be honest. And so the second one is going to be strength building. And again, apply this to your own monthly and weekly action items, whatever it is that you were really focused on. So strength building, to do that, we said every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we would do the at-home workout. And if I'm being totally honest with you here, I'd probably give myself a 5. Some weeks were spotty, some were better than others. Some weeks were spotty. I would say I was mostly consistent with them half of the month, so that's really why I went with 5 out of 10. I was successful 2 out of the 4 weeks. Was this week? Hey, Kimberly. Okay, this one was a 5 week, so 2 out of the 5 weeks. So that's actually even less than 5, but we're just going to keep it because it works. You know, like 2 out of the 5 weeks, half of the time I was good, half of the time I wasn't. And I don't even want to say I was good because that is putting that judgment on it. So instead, let's rephrase to what I said to half of the time I was more successful at implementing my weekly action items. Okay. The next question is reflect on your umbrella goal progress. How do you feel about reaching these goals? For this, you are going to flip back to your umbrella goal progress. And we're going to start by taking a look at the one that we are focusing on this month, which is health and wellness and building a routine. Now, we incorporated our fitness into this by adding our building strength to our routine. So that way we are focusing on more the health and wellness portion of it to build that consistency so we find ourselves being more successful over time. And so to build that routine with building strength, I feel pretty confident on it. I think I'm going to get there. But let me start by saying I want to use a zoom out lens with this. This is how we're going to challenge ourselves. Okay, so we are going to use a zoom out lens and ask ourselves, if I were reviewing this month like a coach, what would I say about my progress? I'll probably have to add another line. What would And this helps us take away the self-judgment by saying, okay, if I zoom out on my goals and maybe I put myself in the position of I'm coaching, how would I say my progress has been so far? Well, I would honestly, as a coach, I would say I'm building a great foundation. Oh, I don't know if as a great foundation. It's not perfect, but I'm showing up. I could probably use some more practice. And I need that reminder to keep showing up for myself, to keep choosing myself. So I like this idea of the goal isn't to be flawless. It's to keep choosing myself. Okay. And then for the last question, what changes, if any, will you make toward reaching your goals next month? For this, we're going to use a one thing strategy, okay? And the reason that I thought of this was because I was practicing my golf swing with someone the other day, and they were like, what do you want to focus on? Is it your speed, the distance, or like the accuracy if you're hitting it straight? And your first answer is, well, I want to practice all three. But they said, no, you have to pick one. And I was like, why do I have to pick one? And they said, because you can't make all these changes at once and expect them to work. You have to focus on figuring out that one change and focusing directly on that until you're successful. And then, and only then, can you start to focus on the other adjustment. And I thought that was a really interesting takeaway. And I think that's a great thing to apply in this case. Because it's easy to say, oh, I'm doing all of these things in a way. It's easy to say that you want to change how you are approaching all of your goals. But that's not going to be realistic in a month. You can't just change everything in a month. So instead, what is one thing? So let's do a one thing strategy here. What's one change you could make to create, oh, no comma there, but to create a big impact? Okay, and that is why I use the ruler, but that's okay. To create a big impact. I love this concept. And I'm trying to think about a realistic way, and that's the key. What's one realistic change you can make? Honestly, I want to create a mini strength routine. AKA a 30-minute strength routine that I can commit to. And I think twice a week to start. And so, do you see how changing the way that you start answering these questions can help you to spark different ideas and just get you more comfortable moving forward with answering questions in a journaling format to use as your guide for when we set up the month tomorrow. So tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, I will be setting up the accountability trackers for June and the June monthly layout. And so we have now successfully completed our monthly reflection and can use this as our guide to setting ourselves up for a successful June. You're so ready, Private Packs. I'm so excited to hear that. And before I wrap things up, I wanted to remind everyone to send their Define weekly planner spread. You can message it to us. You can share it and tag us, whatever works for you, to be entered into our weekly giveaway. And the winner will be announced Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you do that. You don't have to be on the live to be the winner. I'll message you afterwards. So thank you guys for showing up today, showing up for yourself, and continue to navigate each day with purpose. Bye, everyone.